Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
After Roman Reigns lost at WrestleMania XL, his cousin Solo Sikoa declared himself the leader of the bloodline. Paul Heyman thinks the latter can headline the show of shows, even against Jacob Fatu. Solo took over SmackDown during the time the OTC was gone. He recruited new people and formed his own version of the bloodline. He even started wearing the Ulafala and referred to himself as the tribal chief. When the real head of the table returned, he brought back the OG bloodline and they defeated Solo's version at Survivor Series, War Games. During a recent interview with the New York Post, Paul Heyman spoke about Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, two enforcers who evolved to become top stars in WWE. The Wiseman said he saw a potential future where both of them are WrestleMania main eventers, either against each other or headlining each night against other people. The learning curve that both have displayed is intimidating to say the least, because we're at the point where anyone trying to teach Solo or Jacob anything ends up learning from them as much as you try to teach them, Heyman said. Paul Heyman on altering his character after Solo Sikoa became the tribal chief. When the Wiseman was managing Roman Reigns before WrestleMania XL, he was always confident and condescending. However, when he started working for Solo Sikoa, he was much different. Paul Heyman spoke to the New York Post about altering his character when he was managing Solo. "I've never looked for sympathy before, but coming out of WrestleMania, I was clearly putting myself in a sympathetic position as Solo's reign of terror started to become the dominant storyline on SmackDown. I don't think the presentation of the character is much different. I think the very same things that made the character compelling as a villain make the character interesting to watch in a form in which he will elicit the respect of the crowd to be bestowed upon him." Paul Heyman is back to happily managing Roman Reigns again, and the latter will be in the Men's Royal Rumble match this Saturday. The wrestling world is in the midst of a revolution, one that could change the landscape of WWE for years to come. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa have been at the forefront of the bloodline, dominating WWE with their familial ties and unmatched power. But what happens when the next generation comes calling? Paul Heyman, the wise and crafty manager, recently revealed a tantalizing possibility during a backstage interview, hinting that a successor to Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa could rise to the top of WWE. This new talent could eventually challenge a current member of the bloodline in a match worthy of main eventing WrestleMania. "I've seen the future of the bloodline," Heyman began, leaning forward with an intense expression. "It's inevitable. The dominance that Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa have built? It will be passed on. But the question is, who will be the one to carry it forward? And when they do, will they be ready to challenge everything Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa built? Because make no mistake, the next step in the bloodline's legacy is a battle between family members. The notion of a member of the bloodline turning against their own is nothing new. There have been whispers in the locker room about how far family loyalty truly stretches. Could the seemingly untouchable Roman Reigns, who has carried the Universal Championship for nearly 1,000 days, one day find himself standing across from a younger member of the bloodline in a battle for supremacy? The rise of the next successor. "Success doesn't happen by accident," said Jacob Fatu, the towering member of the Samoan dynasty who has often been linked to the bloodline but has charted his own path in Major League Wrestling, MLW. Fatu, known for his fierce, hard-hitting style and ability to command attention, discussed the idea of the next successor to Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa emerging from the shadows. "You see, the bloodline is more than just a group. It's a legacy. I know it, Roman knows it, and Solo knows it. We all know that the blood runs deep," Fatu said, his voice heavy with conviction. "The next generation will rise, and when they do, they'll face one challenge: how do they prove they're ready to wear the crown?" Fatu's comments have sparked debates across the WWE universe. Could he be hinting at his own future involvement in a storyline with Reigns or Sikoa? It certainly wouldn't be the first time Fatu has alluded to the idea of stepping into the grand spotlight that has been dominated by his cousins. Heyman, ever the master of storytelling, has a vision of what a potential battle between family members could look like. "The story writes itself," he said with a glint in his eye. A WrestleMania main event where the fate of the bloodline is decided. A match between Roman Reigns and someone he once called his own. The drama, the tension, the emotion, it could tear the family apart. Paul Heyman's penchant for making larger-than-life matches a reality in WWE has undoubtedly contributed to the intrigue surrounding the idea. But is it all just fantasy, or is there a seed of truth planted in the minds of the WWE creative team? Roman Reigns vs. Solo Sikoa, the next chapter? The main event of WrestleMania is the pinnacle of every wrestler's career, and the mere thought of the bloodline being torn apart for this honor is enough to send fans into a frenzy. But what happens when the seeds of division are sown within the family? Solo Sikoa, the younger brother of the Usos, has carved out his own path within the bloodline. While he has remained loyal to Roman Reigns, his dominance in the ring and intensity make him a force to be reckoned with. Could Solo one day challenge Roman for his Universal Championship? Could the younger Sikoa brother see himself as the next leader of the bloodline, taking the reins from Reigns, who has held the title for so long? Paul Heyman isn't backing down from this notion. In fact, he seems to embrace it. The bloodline is a dynasty. It has no singular ruler. It's a family built on strength, pride, and sacrifice. The next successor to the throne will understand that. And when they do, they'll be ready for WrestleMania, Heyman mused, his words deliberately calculated. Solo Sikoa could one day become Roman's greatest threat. They're more alike than Roman might want to admit. But the real question is, will the family survive that kind of betrayal? Or will they crumble under the weight of their own ambition? Jacob Fatu's impact and a potential new chapter in the bloodline. Jacob Fatu's comments are intriguing. As a member of the Samoan Anoa'i family, Fatu is directly connected to Roman Reigns and other bloodline members, but he's forged his own identity. A longtime fan favorite in MLW, Fatu has expressed interest in potentially joining WWE at some point. Could he be the wild card that takes the bloodline to an even more unpredictable place? Family bonds are powerful, Fatu said, his voice growing more intense. But they can be broken. When the time is right, I will be ready to step in and show that the bloodline isn't just about one person. It's about all of us. While Fatu hasn't confirmed a move to WWE, the idea of him stepping into the fold and challenging the likes of Roman Reigns is an electrifying one. The thought of Fatu facing Reigns or Sikoa in a match for dominance could be one of the most anticipated clashes in modern WWE history. The future of the bloodline. What could a match like this mean for the future of the bloodline? Would it solidify Roman Reigns as the undisputed head of the table, or would a younger, fresher face take over? The tension between family members has been an underlying theme in the bloodline storyline for months, and the potential for this narrative to explode at the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania, is a story too big to ignore. Perhaps the next successor to Roman and Solo is already standing backstage, waiting for the right moment to step up. Perhaps it's someone who has been watching the Reigns' dominance from the outside, plotting their rise to the top. Whatever the case, the bloodline's future remains as intriguing as ever. Will it be Fatu? Solo? Or an unknown talent? As Paul Heyman aptly put it, the future is written in blood, and when the time comes, the bloodline will be ready to tear itself apart if necessary. And what better place to settle this than WrestleMania? WrestleMania is the stage where legends are made, and this potential storyline has all the ingredients for a historic moment. The question remains, who will rise to take the crown?